70 miles wide. All these millions of people must have a roof over their heads. They must be clothed and that is quite an assignment, especially if we bear in mind that the population in this healthy dairy is still growing. There is not so much living room in the Netherlands anymore. In times gone by, it was quite different. Then there was space. Very little of it was habitable. In those days, the Netherlands was one big hospitable complex of marshes, pools, lakes, moors, and forests. Yet people came and settled down. And once here, they soon realized what had to be done to make the country more habitable. They began to force the water back by throwing up dikes. And that was the beginning of the struggle which would last for centuries and is still going on. Lakes were reclaimed and marshes drained. Windmills were used to pump out the water. In many places, these mills are still to be found, giving the Netherlands their characteristic aspect. Later on, their task was taken over by impressive pumping stations, which now in their turn force the water back. Man has learned, aided by the techniques which he himself developed, to control the water, and only occasionally does it get the better of him. The Dutch magically transformed the rippling waters into fertile soil. Hardly anywhere in the world does grass grow more luxuriantly than here in the broad delta of the West European rivers. More than half of the arable land is covered with grass. Practically nowhere else in the world are the meadows so full of cows radiating health. Pedigree associations have contributed to giving the cows that healthiness, and they succeeded in making the Dutch cow the cow yields the greatest of milk in the world. The drained land is now protected by a widespread system of dikes, so that even many areas lying under sea level have been turned into fertile grassland. Without these dikes, the greater part of the Netherlands would be underwater. But for a narrow strip of land, only the eastern and southern would be of water. Owing to the protection of the dikes, the Netherlands has now become a land of milk. Now you are in the heart of this land of milk, in the city of Gouda, famous for its beautiful town hall. If you make a trip through the charming rural environment of this city, you will find ample proof of the theorem that milk is an indispensable food. Milk is more indispensable to life and growth than any other foodstuff. It contains many substances which naturally protect health. This not only holds young old pasture, but it's also true for baby in his high chair and for his growing system. That milk and the dairy products we owe equally famous Dutch cows. There are many breeds, but classic features of this province, black and white cow is frequent found. Every day, early in the morning, the cows are milked for the first time. This often happens in the meadows situated at a great distance from the farm. The fresh milk is then into the farm in a small boat, worked whole, going home along romantic little canals. If we would pour together the daily output of all cows in Holland, we would need a giant can with a base of 300 square yards and a height of 60 yards. That would stand comparison with Amsterdam's Wester Tower. Total annual production, about 2 million quarts go directly to Dutch tables. The rest is made into cheese, 320 million pounds a year, butter, more than 160 million pounds a year, condensed milk close to 5 million pounds a year, and powdered more than 100 million pounds a year. But it's about cheese we want to speak now, and especially farm cheese. That's cheese which is made by the farmer's wife and her daughters at about 4,500 farms in the south of Holland and western Utrecht, and so in the vicinity of Gouda. Only they know how to prepare the full cream Gouda cheese, relished everywhere by everyone. This know-how has been passed on from generation to generation by word of mouth. Of course, nowadays, advanced techniques are a great help, but the perfection of the cheese only they know how to make, principally due to their natural aptitude for it. The temperature is accurately fixed, and when just right, a certain quantity of rennet is carefully added to milk. This rennet causes the secretion of the casein, and it is therefore necessary to mix the rennet well with the milk. To speed up the process, which takes some time, the curds have to be cut. This is sometimes done by hand, but more often by means of rotating blades. These blades are fixed in such a way that while rotating, they cover the whole surface of the cheese vat. After completing this process, a thin fluid appears on the surface of the vat, the whey. The whey contains much important nutritious matter which is put to excellent use on the farm, so it is skimmed and poured through a strainer into a separate vat. Look how the piglets jostle one another when it's feeding time. Not only the pigs like it, but the calves too. In fact, as the saying goes, they eat it like porridge. The remaining curds are put together in a piece of cloth and laid in the cheese mold. The mold used here produces the famous full cream Gouda cheese, the flat, round shape. These cheeses sometimes weigh 70 pounds or more and are best carried by two people to the press, where the cheese has to remain for some time. As great care is taken over the quality of the dairy products in the Netherlands, a controller regularly samples the products to check the moisture and fat content. For this purpose, there are many well-equipped laboratories. A government stamp guarantees that every cheese which is exported meets the strict quality requirements. To aid farming of a rind, the cheese is kept in a briny bath. As we said before, all this is done either by the farmer's wife or her daughters. They are aided by a natural talent passed on in the course of time from mother to daughter, and a training which takes into account the progress of modern technique. The long experience, the learning put into practice, the accuracy and the ambition with which they go about their daily tasks have made the full cream Gouda cheese a quality cheese that stands all by itself. And then the cheeses are kept on the shelf until they are ready to be taken to market. Early every Thursday morning, the farmers in the neighborhood go with their carts to this centuries-old market. The big market square around the beautiful city hall is filled to capacity. Here they meet the dealers who examine the cheeses carefully before the actual buying. This is done near the old cheese weighing house with its well-known facade picturing the weighing of cheeses before purchase. The buying is rather a serious matter, and the bargaining takes time. Oh, don't worry, they're not quarreling. This is just part of the procedure. Their ancestors did it in the same way, and the old tradition has been maintained. Now you know how farm cheese is really made, but do you know how to use it? Cheese makes your sandwich tasty and nutritious. For your parties, use cheese in snacks. Cut the cheese into small bits or strips and add pickle slices or some small onions. Use cheese at dinner. It's quite a change and it's full of albumin. Here you see macaroni and grated cheese, a nutritious, easy to prepare. If you want to, you could add fresh tomatoes or tomato puree. A mixture of dairy fresh butter and grated cheese can be used in many ways. For instance, with brown bread, in tomatoes, or hard-boiled eggs. These spicy snacks definitely hit the spot for family and friends. At lunchtime, a slice of fried cheese will be appreciated. And if you add a fried egg and a sliced tomato, your meal is really something special. So when you get home, always remember and ask for the famous Gouda farm cheese.